everyone. Today I have with me author John Phillips. Thank you for being on my show, John. I so can't wait to talk to you about this book. John is the author of The Dark Hurts, and it is amazing. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. Delighted to be here.
Are you living in the United States right now? Because I wanted to look up your area code, but I didn't know. 813 is in Tampa. Where is that?
That's in Tampa, Florida.
Oh, you're in Tampa. That's right. Okay. That's awesome. I want to be in Tampa right now. I'm up in Pennsylvania, and our weather is absolutely crazy right now. So good for you.
I've been here for 19 years now, moved from the UK straight to Tampa and not moved out.
Oh, that was a smart move. My mom, we grew up in Pennsylvania, and she moved down to Jupiter, Florida, right after my dad passed away, and I couldn't get her back. I'd be like, come visit me. And she's like, no, you come visit me. I don't really miss Pennsylvania so much. So I get that.
I would visit in August when we got the terrible humidity, but other than that, I love this place.
Yeah, and she even got used to that. I mean, Jupiter has terrible humidity too, but she even got used to that. It was just funny once she moved to Florida. It's hard to get the people back out, you know.
I hear you. Yes, indeed.
So I want to talk about The Dark Hurts. I was trying to think the other day because I get books from all over the place. Okay, so sometimes I get them on Goodreads. A lot of times I get them on Goodreads. Are you on Goodreads?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I may have gotten it from there because I go back and forth between Amazon and Goodreads, but Goodreads I find gets me the most published, the most recently published, and when they put it on their list, I pretty much know that it's going to be an amazing book, so I always pick it up, and I was not disappointed. I mean, your book, I thought I knew where it was going, and every turn you had me in different places, so, I started, the book off starts with, just so everybody knows, it starts off with this earthquake. And I looked up the earthquake because I thought maybe you were talking about an earthquake that was that exact day, but it's not. It wasn't, it didn't, okay, it's not. So, but there were others close to that date that were very horrific. So that's why I was thinking that maybe it was that date. But, so we start off with Sammy and Tom and then the earthquake. And I'm thinking that it's going in one way, and then it kind of takes on a totally different way. And I became so attached to your characters. You do such a good job in describing them and making us feel like a part of their lives and what they're going through. And I was wondering, okay, so if you've never lived in San Francisco, have you survived? Have you ever been in an earthquake?
I've been in a small one, and to be honest with you, it was in Japan. I was there on a business trip many, many years ago in my previous life.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
So, to be honest with you, I didn't even know we'd had an earthquake. It was in the middle of the night. I remember being disturbed in my sleep and hearing a bang, and I was so half asleep because I was jet-lagged. I'd been working crazy hours. So I just rolled over and went back to sleep. It wasn't until the morning when I saw a picture that's fallen off the wall onto the floor. And then when I went down for breakfast, everyone was talking about the earthquake in the middle of the night, and I slipped through it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. I actually did experience earthquake because I lived in Southern California for about 3 years, back right before this time period. I'd moved out in 89, and I was the worst. I mean, I experienced a couple of them, when I was there. But the worst one was I was in the hospital. I had just given birth to my son, and my second son, and it hit like in the middle. I used to always say there was a weather related to earthquakes. You could almost feel the calm in the air right before an earthquake. It was a very strange sensation, but I was not outside it that day, so I did not feel that. But it hit, and the hospital dropped, and the TV missed me and my newborn son by about a couple feet. It came right off the wall, and it was the most severe one. I don't remember the magnitude at that time. I think we were in Newport Beach. It just happened to be right then, So when I'm reading this, it's like, this book, the earthquake is way more horrific, but I also could understand the sensation of, because it comes so fast, you don't know what happened until after. It is such a quick thing. And when you look it up, people will say, well, that earthquake lasted, 30 seconds, or I don't know. And you're like, what? Because it happened so quick. It's, it's crazy. So anyway, so for any of you out there who did experience an earthquake, you bring it to life. I mean, it is exactly how you describe it. And, I really felt that from your writing. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I've been very fortunate in my life because I've traveled to many, many countries in my life through my work. And I spent a lot of time in New Zealand, and with clients that I was working with, they were describing the different earthquakes that they'd experienced. So I guess I had a bit of an inside knowledge without having to suffer going through one myself.
Well, it absolutely, and I'm sure you did lots of research too, as to what, but, what would happen, what would happen if something like this, because I feel like the one in the book is even stronger than what San Francisco or the Bay Area has actually had, correct?
It is. They had one many, many years ago, which was killed, I can't remember how many thousands of people now. But it was many years ago, before the building codes came in and all the rest of it. So, I mean, it's a much, much safer city now compared to what it used to be. And that's why in the book I increased the magnitude of the earthquake, because at that magnitude, there's going to be damage. There's going to be fatalities.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And, when you say that about the buildings, the one thing in Southern California, even when I was there, is that our buildings were on rollers. And
Correct. Yeah.
So when an earthquake would happen at work, our building just rolled, which was also equally disturbing. But anyway, so, okay, so when this is your first novel?
It is. I came up with the idea, again, in my previous life with too many long-haul flights, and, I could write a book on this story. The story came to my mind, and then I thought, I can do this, and perhaps that was very conceited of me, but it started forming in my mind for many, many years before I got to a point in my life where I thought, I've got to do this. This is on my bucket list. It's been on my bucket list for so long. I have to do it.
Well, when you decided to do that, you didn't just decide to do like a little, 300-page novel. You went full force. This not. Let me see how many pages this is. It's almost 590. Yeah, almost 600 pages. So that's a big novel to undertake, for your first one.
My people I was working with to get it published, which have been amazing, by the way. I can't thank them enough. But there wasn't a way that I could shorten the story and reduce the description without, as they put it, taking away the feelings, the nature, the character, the whole picture. So they said it was a very large book to undertake. I guess I never knew when to shut up. Let's put it that way.
Well, you know what? Usually when I get a hold of a book that size, I prepare to read it. I'm going to take a couple of days, because I can read a 300-page book in a day, no problem. So, but a 600-page book, I'm like, okay, well, this may take me a while. But actually, it didn't. It didn't take me that long. I was shocked. I mean, it is a page turner. It isn't something that I wanted to put down. I mean, and at the end, I found myself running through the pages so quickly, the last fourth of the book, because I'm reading as fast as I could to figure out, what happens. And it's awesome to be able to say that to somebody who's written a 600-page book, because that is not the normal. So I wanted to tell you that.
I take that as a compliment, and thank you so very much.
Yeah. Yes.
I have a Facebook friend of mine. I've never actually met the woman. I've only met her on Facebook through the book. And she told me that she was to the point she couldn't put the book down. She read it till 3 o'clock in the morning. She blamed me for making her lose sleep. In a good way.
That's right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I was reading it fast to begin with, because I do read fast. But by the last quarter, I didn't put it down. I never walked away. I just sat there. I don't know how long it took me, but I didn't get up. So, you had me in the last quarter of the book, and that's an amazing thing, like I said, to say, because I've read larger books, and that is not usually the case. So, after I got done, I'm like, I have to talk to him and tell him how amazing this book is. So that's what I wanted to do.
No, again, I'm humbled by your comments. Thank you so much.
So did you go through a publisher then? I thought it was self-published.
It is self-published. I went through a company that helped you get it prepared for self-publishing and publishing. So, yeah, and they, as I say, I can't thank them enough. They were very, very good to me. So
it's kind of like that hybrid. Would you call that a hybrid publishing company?
Correct.
Okay. I'm just hearing more and more about those every day.
Well, and I used to, as a teenager many, many years ago in London, I skirted on the music business, and I realized that there are certain industries out there that there's only very few are lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time with the right people. So I knew to try and get a publisher to look at me seriously on my first novel was going to be almost impossible to do. So I decided to take the other route. And to get it published, it wasn't a question to make a huge amount of money or anything ridiculous, because most authors earn very, very little. Only the very top make any money out of it. But it was just the fact to say, okay, I was able to do this. I did it. And it was for my benefit as opposed to anything other than getting it, needed to get it out of my bucket list and out of my system.
Yeah, and I think that those hybrid publishers are just so amazing. I talked to a couple of them, and, that's their goal, is they just want to help new authors be out there, that don't have an agent and don't want to go the publishing route. If they just want it out there, they don't want it sitting somewhere for a year while people scrutinize over it. And, so I really feel like that's the way that's going to, it's like the in-between. As far as I'm concerned, it's all the good things without the bad things, of the waiting around and, because I've heard. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I did send it to a couple of publishers, and one wrote back to me and said, well, send me the first 10 pages. And I said, well, you can't judge a book, a story in 10 pages. So, which I never sent. So that was a big deciding factor for me when I was getting that sort of response out of Matt.
Yeah.
I might have written a rubbish book, and I might have written a good book, but you can't tell by reading 10 pages.
No, I really don't believe that. I've heard that also. I've heard a lot of people say that. Even if you read books about how to write books, they tell you, you got to hook them within the first 10 pages, but I know for myself, like, if I were to put down every book that I'm not hooked on the first 10 pages, I would never I would never get to read half the amazing books that I have read. So I don't know that I go through. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think you need to introduce the people, and you need you need a build up kind of to be able to to start from, basically. So yeah, I don't really agree with that. But I have to say, the thing about another thing is like the cover. I mean, I have the paperback, and I'm assuming there probably is only a paperback. But the cover is amazing, and that's another thing that's coming out. Did you create the cover, or did they?
I knew what I wanted for the cover. I had exactly 100% of it in my mind, and I explained. They did it, and I explained to them what I was looking for, and they sent me 5 different drafts for me to pick out. And this one that I picked out was exactly what I envisaged in my mind. So. So it was perfect. And the only thing that then I needed to make a decision, did I want it in gloss or matte? So on Facebook, funny enough, to all of the people that were following me, I said, okay, it's vote time. Vote what you want it in, matte or gloss finish. And the result was it came back as matte, and that's what it's published in. It's a matte finish. I
actually like it, though. I really do. And I'm looking around because I do have some glossy books, that I'm looking at. And I think for this book, I really think the matte works.
Yeah, I couldn't be happier with it than the cover at all. It was exactly what I envisaged in my mind.
Because to me, it's like it's a book about tragedy, but people getting through tragedy, and and I think, and just the title, The Dark Hurts. I mean, I think I think it all just fits very well. So I really wanted to be able to tell you that from a reader standpoint, which is what I always try to go from to tell authors, because I always feel like they don't get enough readers. There aren't enough, Amazon, you get good and bad all the time, so a lot of authors don't even read their reviews because they're so unpredictable. Some of them are actually pretty crazy. So I try not to read them before I read a book, so I don't even know.
Well, I was very, very surprised to get as many reviews in this relatively short period of time, because it was only published or released in July of last year.
Mm-hmm.
We have, I think, now on Amazon USA 28 reviews, and 27 of those are 5-star, and there's one 4-star review on there.
Wow, that's amazing. So then that tells you right there, I mean, how amazing this book is. Or do you have anything planned as it's, as an extension of this, and something new coming up?
I'm about 50% through the next novel, which is called The Piano Man.
Oh, nice. So it's going to be completely, these are going to be standalone books. It's not going to be a series.
Yeah, it's a completely different story. It's funny enough, it's based from Chicago initially, but then into Florida. And I was very privileged that there's a sheriff down here called Sheriff Grady Judd, which allowed me, because it's about a policeman, and the title does come to fruition in the book, why it's called The Piano Man. But basically, Sheriff Grady Judd was very gracious to me and met with me and allowed me to use his Polk County Sheriff's Office as the base for when this officer came down to Florida.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that you're writing another book, because, and I think that what I've heard from other authors, I should say, is that, the first one is actually the hardest to write. The others kind of just flow. So I was like, when I saw that this was your first one, I'm like, I hope he continues to write, because this may have been the hardest one, but, the rest of them should be, you learn so much, from just getting the first one done.
Well, again, I've actually got several books planned, and I've got them mapped out, probably about another 8.
Oh, my goodness. That's awesome.
The Piano Man is the next one. The one after that is going to be called Scruff, and that's about life through the eyes of a street dog.
Oh, I like that.
It's going to be hysterical, quite frankly. I've already got parts of it, and, as I say, mapped out. And I was how I got in the writing business is really by chance. There used to be an English author called James Herbert. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago. And again, I was fortunate enough. I met him once on a business trip. He happened to be in the same hotel as I was staying in, and I recognized him because I was one of his fans. I'd read most of his books, if not all of them. And again, the nicest man you could ever wish to sit and talk to, and he was very gracious. He spent time with me and talked with me. And I asked him, how do you actually sit down and plan a novel? And he said, every author is totally different. But he said, for me, I've got a flip chart in my office, and I put the title in the mirror on a balloon, and then I put balloons round that main title of each chapter. And he said, once I've got an idea from that where the story's going, how I want it to proceed, and when I sit down to write, I let the chapter take me.
Whoa, I like that.
And that's exactly what I did with it. I followed his advice. I followed his information. I got myself a flip chart, and I did exactly that. So what it does, it keeps you on track, but it allows you to develop the story in your mind with each chapter. You know where it's got to end, and you know where the chapters are going to begin and end, but the middle part, it flows with your imagination.
I really like that, and I kind of remember, and I'm racking my brain to try to remember what the name of this book was called, but there was a guy that wrote a book that he kind of developed a system kind of like that, but he called it something. It was a little bit different, but it kind of had the same concept. It wasn't basically outlining. You know how some authors will just outline it all the way through, and or some people just sit down and write it. But he kind of had that concept where, you know, he just wrote the chapters around the title and just kind of went with the chapter titles then to write it, and just kind of it wasn't called flow chart, but it was something to that effect. Yeah. But that's amazing. Because I was going to ask you, you know, exactly how you did do that, especially when you're writing a book of this size. I mean, to know where it's going, you have to like kind of keep track of where you want it to go. And you know, as the reader, like I said, you had me going. Like I thought it was going to go one way, kind of went another way, and you know, that's what keeps readers reading, is when, you know, we like to be surprised. Especially somebody like me who reads like a book a day. It's like when you can shock me, then I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't see that coming. That's awesome. You know, like I like that because we're always thinking in our brains that we know where it's going, you know?
I think the biggest compliment I've had so far is that one reader said it was like the movie that they saw, The Sixth Sense.
Oh.
They never saw the end. They watched the movie again afterwards and said, but it was there. It said it. It was there. You could see the end, but you were so wrapped up in the story that you never saw the end coming. And that same reader told me that as she was reading the book, she said, well, okay, he mentions the dark, but it wasn't until I read that final chapter I realized why the dark hurts.
Yes. Yeah, I agree totally. I thought that, you know, the theme was there, but it wasn't until the end that I was like, oh. And I love that. I love when books wrap up like that. I really do. I don't like titles that are that lead me early. You know, yeah. I like titles that keep me going the whole time, because from the very beginning I'm like, okay, what dark? Which part? You know, which part? The part where he gets hurt, the part where which part is the dark? But I totally agree with her. That was she put that very beautifully. So.
Absolutely. And it's funny enough, I had another person this week say to me, I can't believe you killed off so-and-so so quick.
Okay.
Angry with me.
Okay, and you know what? I know, because that's another thing. It's really hard to talk to authors like you when I don't want to give, we can't go too much into the story because I don't want to give anything away. I want people to read the book. But I was thinking that person wasn't dead till I got to like page, 550. Okay. I wasn't even convinced. Okay. So that also tells you something, because I was like, no, that person's not dead. It's not, so it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and then I had to be like, okay, they're dead. I get it. It's true. They're not coming back.
It was a very emotional experience to write that book. And my wife, bless her, she was so much support whilst I was doing it. And I would get her to come in and read a sentence and say, from a woman's, from a female's perspective, is this how you would... I remember on one occasion, it was a really nice evening, and I'd worked perhaps longer on it than I'd anticipated. So I asked her to come in and read a section, and I poured myself a cocktail and went outside on the patio, and she came out and she was crying her eyes out. I said, what's wrong? What happened? It was so good.
Yeah, and I found myself getting so attached to Anna and her story, and feeling what she had to go through with with everything, and I felt like I was, like your wife said it, like I got so emotional about her emotions, because she had so much to deal with, when in the beginning of the book, I really thought the book was going to be about Tom and what he had to go through. So I was so shocked. It was like, no, this is, not that it wasn't, but this is also about, other people and what they're going through. So that's that's what I meant about your character development, you know, because I really felt a part of those characters, and she had to change so much, you know, through the whole tragedy of the earthquake and all the events and everything. So it was really good, and I just want to thank you for writing it, because you know, readers like me love it, and you know, and I'm not the only one, but I do want to get it out there because I want more people to read it.
Your words are very, very kind, and as I say, I feel very humbled by them, and I really do appreciate them.
Well, and I can't read. I hope you keep us all updated. Do you like update your what social media are you like the most like current on? Like do you like Twitter? Do you like Facebook? Like, you know, which one?
Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are my main ones that I use. And unfortunately, because of lack of time, my website isn't as active as I would like it, but it's due to lack of resources and time, shall we say.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. I find that I like what I do, and I don't like so much the other stuff. But in order for everybody to know, you have to be working on other stuff at the same time. And I can't wait till the point I don't have to do the other stuff because somebody else will do it for me, and I don't have to keep up. Social media is tough. It's a tough thing, you know.
It is. It's time-consuming, but you need to do it. As you say, I'm an unknown author, my first novel, and you know, I'm told it takes 5 novels for people really to get to know who you are and what you are, and then they go back and read the 3 they missed, or they get the 2 that they haven't read yet, and this sort of thing.
Right. And that is true. Like that does happen to me as a reader, because I'll come across a newer book and then I'll be like, oh my gosh, they wrote other stuff, and I'll go back. But that is the good thing about social media, I have to say, is that authors do have the opportunity to get out there and be known right out the gate a lot easier than, you know, 10 years ago. So I'm grateful for social media. It's just, it does get to be a very time-consuming part of my day. I try to push it off. I try to book it in a certain part and then not go back to it, you know, every day. So.
Yeah, no, totally. I think at one point when I was writing the book, I'd got so much in my mind going on. I physically lived the story in my mind as I was.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd never explained the character's physical appearance at that point in the book. And I remember going to bed that night, and I went to sleep. I was exhausted, and I woke up in the morning. My wife and I were having a morning coffee. I said to her, "That's it. I dreamt last night. I know what Anna looks like now." And I actually dreamt of the character that night.
Oh, that's amazing. That's what I always ask the authors, like, you know, when you're in the midst of the writing, like, can you, because I actually talked to this one mom that had 4 little children, and she would write at crazy hours, okay? And I said to her, do you ever get out of it? Like, when you have to pay attention to the children and you have to, you know, it's so, and she says it's so difficult. It's so difficult to put that in another compartment of your brain to do other things when, of course, you're always thinking next chapter, what am I missing? What am I, you know, what do I want to do? What do I want? And you know, so it is, I've heard that it's very difficult to come out of when you're in the heat of it.
Yeah, if you put your heart and soul in it, then you're living it.
Yes. So, well, thank you so much, John, for talking to us, and I will put all your links at the bottom so people can find you, and I will try to reach out to as many people to get this book out there, and I hope you keep us updated on what's coming next, and we can talk about your next one.
It's been my pleasure. I thank you so very much, and yes, indeed, I will do as you request.
Awesome. Well, happy writing.
Thank you. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you.